We've never done a gear review type of video before. All of our videos to date have been focused on traveling and the places we've gone, the things we've got to see. But I thought this one was important, and I thought other people with similar situations might benefit from this. And what we're going to talk about today is a rear suspension upgrade for the Ram truck made by Timbren. And what it is, it's a rubber replacement for the existing bump stop on the truck. Now the reason we want to do that is because we've upgraded our travel trailer. If you've noticed our videos from previous, you probably noticed we had a small 17-foot Jayco hybrid. It was a great travel trailer. It really served its purpose for us. We had it for 5 seasons, no complaints. But we did want to upgrade to something a little bigger, and we have the one that we have behind us now. This is a 2014 Outback Terrain. It's 26 feet long, so it's about 9 feet longer than the Jayco, which is, noticeable. But also importantly, it's also about 2,000 pounds heavier than the Jayco was. And that puts a lot more weight on the hitch of the truck. Now, even though this is about 2,000 pounds heavier than the Jayco was, and it puts, several hundred more pounds of weight on the hitch of the truck, we're still well within the weight limits, both towing and payload of the Ram truck. We've got over 2,000 pounds headroom in towing and several hundred pounds in payload. But really, payload is what's being impacted the most here. The truck's got tons of power to tow it, but we are noticing that this does load the rear of the truck up much more than we're used to. And one of the things we see is visually, even looking at it, you can tell that even with the load distribution hitch on, that it's squatting the rear end of the truck quite a bit. We've also got quite a bit of gear in the bed of the truck. We have gear in the storage in the front of the trailer, so it's a lot more weight. When we're towing this, and it tows quite well, except it doesn't take a whole lot of crosswind until it starts really pushing the truck around, which has made us a little uncomfortable. And I'm hoping that by stiffening up the rear suspension, getting the truck level again, that we can, reduce or at least, minimize the amount of body roll that we have in crosswinds. So here's what we're going to be installing today. It's the Timbren SES rear suspension upgrade, and they are different for each truck. So make sure if you're going to order one, make sure you order the one that's right for your truck. This is for the 2016 Ram. So as I mentioned earlier, the Timbren system is a replacement for the existing bump stops on the truck. Now what a bump stop is it's just a piece of rubber that's connected to the frame that prevents the axle from smashing into the frame under heavy compression, such as when you have a big load on or you go over a big bump. So the first step is to remove the bump stops that come with the truck. And that turned out to be actually pretty easy. I didn't have to jack the truck or anything. I just reached up and gave it a little twist and a pull, and it came right out. We're only going to show one side, and same with the installation of the new one. We're only going to show one side, but hopefully it's obvious that you have to do this on both sides of the truck. So on the left is the original bump stop that came on the truck, and we just took that off. And on to the right is the one we're going to replace it with, which is the Timbren rear suspension upgrade. One of the things you notice immediately is the size difference, and the Timbren is probably at least a 25% taller bump stop. But one of the things you can't really tell in the video is the weight. This is very light. It feels very soft, compressible. You can kind of compress it with your hand. This is much heavier and stiffer. Right? So that's hopefully going to make a big difference. So the next step is to install the new Timbren bump stops. This I found to be quite a bit harder than getting the old ones out. I used a little bit of soapy water to try and lubricate the inside of the bump stop mount and the bump stop itself. And with some twisting and pushing, I was able to get it up in there, at least so that it, wouldn't fall out on its own. I wasn't able to get it set in there by hand. So what I had to do was jack the truck up by the frame, which lifted the frame up a little higher off the axle. Then I used a couple pieces of scrap wood as some shims and slid that in between the axle and the bump stop, and then let the truck back down off the jack. That compressed the bump stop and set it up into the mount quite well. Then I just jacked the truck up again and took the pieces of wood out and took it back off the jack, and we're good to go. Okay, that's it. Our Timbren suspension upgrade, the helper springs are installed. The next thing to do is obviously to try it out, see if it improves things like we hope it will. Now, we're not going to get to do that till this weekend, but we are going to Linkletter Provincial Park in Prince Edward Island. It's about 200 kilometers each way, so we will get to try this out. We're also going to be crossing the Confederation Bridge, which is notoriously windy, so we'll get to see how it improves trailer sway and how it improves getting the truck pushed around. And we'll do a little follow-up and add this into this video. The installation was pretty straightforward. The old bump stops come out much easier than I thought. The new ones are a little tight getting in. You got to kind of squeeze them around a bit, but the nice thing is you don't need any tools. You don't really need any mechanical skills. But of course, if you're not confident, jacking your truck up and that types of things, it's probably worth taking it to a garage to have done. I'm sure they could do it in 15-20 minutes. It shouldn't really cost all that much. Anyway, we'll have our tow this weekend, and we'll get back and let you know what we think. Okay, we've got the trailer hooked up to the truck. We are ready to go for our weekend in Prince Edward Island. I wish I had a before picture to show so you could see the way that trailer was making the rear end of the truck sag. But in this shot here, we've got the trailer hooked up to the truck without the load distribution hitch, just the Timbren system. Now, and the trailer has pulled the rear of the truck right down onto the Timbren system. So the bottom of the Timbren is resting on the top of the axle. But even so, you can see that's prevented the truck from sagging too much in the rear end as it is. Now in this shot here, I've got the load distribution hitch put on, and it's pulled the truck about maybe, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch up off the bump stops. And you can see it's really leveled it out quite nice. It's just exactly where I want it now. Well, we're back from our weekend camping trip, and we towed probably about 500 kilometers altogether with the trailer using the new Timbren suspension upgrade. First impressions, really positive. One of the things I'd heard and read sort of as a negative about the system was that when you're unloaded, it can make your ride quite harsh. I didn't find that at all. Honestly, since I've installed the system and just driving around, I don't really notice any difference at all from the way it used to be till now. I would say the area that's improved the most with this system is the truck's ability to resist movement from the trailer when we're in a crosswind, so not nearly as much trailer sway being transmitted over to the truck. It seems these things have a great lateral strength, so that, and I could see it in the rearview mirror. I'd see the a big gust hit the trailer, and I'd see the trailer move a bit side to side, but not really feel that that energy being transferred in the truck. So much more stable towing in a heavy wind. We're still getting some porpoising and some shuddering when we go across, say, like the big expansion joints in the Confederation Bridge. We really noticed that being quite rough. But I don't know if that has anything to do with the Timbren system or not. That might just be the fact that we're towing a 5,000-pound trailer over some rough expansion joints. That may just be a fact of life. Overall, very positive. Completely recommend this. It's easy to install. It's essentially maintenance free, and at least for us, it's really improved our towing experience.